If you're wondering, like, where did I last have my purpose? Where did I last feel in flow? Where did I last feel passionate and on fire to do something? It is possible to retrace your steps. Just like if you lost your watch or your phone, you go back and you trace your steps until you find it again. Welcome to Frontline Women, a show dedicated to women on the leading edge of change and culture renewal in America. I'm Delisha Coppersmith, and I'll be your host and guide as we explore emerging issues and opportunities for women to lead side by side with men every day. So let's get off the sideline and onto the front line right now. Hey, thanks for joining me again. Today, we're going to talk about maybe having lost something, especially nearing the end of the year, that we can actually find. And I have a simple way to help you find it. So what have we lost? Well, for some of us, this year has been very chaotic, and a lot of people feel like they've put so much into their careers and providing for their families, only to come up, here at the end of the year with very little to show for all of that effort. There are people who feel quite unappreciated in their careers, and they've kind of lost that love and feeling with their jobs. So, what I'm talking about finding is our purpose. And it's something that is always there. We just forget what it is, or we lose our connection to it. And as we enter into this final part of the calendar year, really, if you watch this later, it's any time of the year. And so it's not just an end of the year thing. But if you're feeling like you have lost your connection with what's the point of it all? What good am I doing? What gifts do I have to give? And you feel like you're just kind of on the treadmill of making a paycheck, and you miss that feeling, that sense of purpose, that passion that you used to have. Well, let's spend a few minutes today, and it's going to be a short episode, that even if you're driving, I would want you not to certainly get out a piece of paper, but you can just consider your windshield, the piece of paper that you're going to use. Everybody else listening to this episode, grab a notebook, and we're going to do something that you can easily sketch out on a piece of paper. It's a bit of backcasting, but we're going on a scavenger hunt. We're going to find the sense of purpose, the passion that you felt before. And then we're going to decide on a way that we can reconnect with that. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, when you think back to the last time that you felt that fire inside of you, that sense of purpose, the first thing I'm going to ask you, just like we do with our kids or with people that work with us or with our spouses, when somebody loses something, what do you ask them? Well, where do you remember having it last, right? And you retrace the steps, or you suggest that they retrace their steps. Sometimes they don't want to do that, but if they actually stop and do it, they will find it again. So today we're going to retrace your steps back to when you had a fire in your belly, a sense of passion and purpose, and work didn't seem like work. Or whatever this effort was, didn't seem like work at all. You so enjoyed it and you felt like you were in your element. What I want you to do before we think of when you had it last, I want you to describe today. So as you're looking at that sheet of paper, we're going to do some backcasting, which means we're going to work from right to left, just like it's a chronological timeline, where today is going to be on the right side of the paper. Okay, if you're on the video, I'm going to point to the right side as you're looking at me. So today is going to be on the right side of the paper. And we're going to have several squares with some things that you're going to write something in. So make sure you don't do this, too big, because you'll run out of room. And you start on the right side of the paper with describing how you feel today. And you may feel lost or scattered. You may feel disheartened, whatever the words are. I'd say 2 to 3 words that describe how you're feeling today. And you can go back and fix this and make it more accurate later on. But maybe you're feeling lost, distracted, scattered. Maybe you feel like a failure, or maybe you feel bored. Whatever the words are, that's where you are today, and that's completely fine. It's not a permanent state. But when we work backwards, what was the thing that happened right before you felt this way? All right. And I'm going to use something that I kind of sketched out for myself. And I always feel a sense of purpose in my work. Trust me. So anybody that I'm working with right now, don't worry. I have not lost that love and feeling. But I did have to do this exercise for myself before I offered it to you. What I wanted to go back to was a time that I was like uber on fire, over this topic that I talk about and that I coach women in, which is more women stepping up, right? And all of the things that society loses out on when we don't. So when I was most on fire was when I was writing my book. Now, a lot of things happened before that, and a lot of great things have happened after that. But you can imagine when you're focusing on researching and talking to people and writing a book, it's such a creative effort, and you have to pour your entire heart and soul into it. It was so important, that this message get out to more women. And so I haven't lost that love and feeling, but when I think what has happened since that day, as you're looking at it in the video, I start from today and then I step backwards. So today I feel a bit scattered. I feel like I'm a little bit more connected to doing the work than being creative. So what happened right before I felt this way? Well, I started doing too many things. Okay. I started the podcast and another course, and all kinds of things have been happening. There's nothing wrong with what's going on right now, but it is time for me to focus. What happened right before I started doing too many things? Well, I had success on a pretty big effort. Okay. And that was great. When you have success, that's wonderful. It allows you to do some things. And in my case, it allowed me to try to do too many other things. All right. So good and bad. All right. But it did lead to me today feeling a bit scattered. It's just what happened. So don't judge any of these steps backward. You're just retracing your steps. And what happened before I had success in the big effort? Well, I put my heart and soul into that book. And that was the time I was absolutely on fire. Okay, so if you've gotten that far, what I want you to do is just draw a big, flash around that, because that was your time that you felt the most connected to your purpose. And you may have a couple of more steps between what we're talking about here and your most on fire moments. But for me, it was, pouring my heart and soul into that book. And so it was just a really creative, aspirational place to be. All right, I decided I was going to go even a little bit before that so I could retrace what led up to that. Right before I poured my heart and soul into that book, I was in a place where I really wanted to do something about a problem that I consistently see that I had lived and that many of my clients had lived. And I felt like it was solvable. So I had this fire to find some way to contribute to solving that problem. Just take a chip at it. That's all I can do in my lifetime, right? But it was incredibly important to me to try. All right. What was going on before that? Well, I was actually experiencing what I now help a lot of women with. And so if you retrace your steps from today, however you're feeling today, and you say, what happened right before I felt this way? And write that down. And then what happened right before that? Jot that down. However many times you need to go backward to that moment in time where you felt the most inspired, the most in your purpose, in flow, if you will. And then take it a couple steps beyond that, earlier in time, to when something inspired you to get involved in that, or someone gave you the opportunity, or whatever it was. So when you look at this timeline, I want you now to look at both today, how you feel, and then where you felt the most inspired, and compare those two. Is what you see in, I'll say, your purpose block, is that something you could do again? For me, I say it is. Now, not necessarily going to write a book, but it could be that I decide I'm going to really focus and do a second season of the podcast just by myself. So it doesn't have to be another book, but some effort where I'm researching and really staying focused on the topic and delivering the best that I can to the community that I serve. Another thing I could do is write articles. Certainly, I'm doing public speaking now, but I could do more of that. And so spending more time doing that, being creative, and perhaps less time being distracted by other things. And those things could be good. It could be other work that you're offered, but it's taking you out of your purpose a bit. So I hope this is making sense to you. I know I'm describing something that you probably can't see unless you're creating it along with me. But create your today backwards exercise. Because if you're wondering, like, where did I last have my purpose? Where did I last feel in flow? Where did I last feel passionate and on fire to do something? It is possible to retrace your steps. Just like if you lost your watch or your phone, you go back and you trace your steps until you find it again. And so what do you do once you do find that, and you look at that map and you figure out what happened from the time that you were most on fire to today when you may be feeling a little bit far from that? Well, you can discover how you can get back to it. And that usually has to do with removing distractions, saying no to some things, and doing what you love again. Does it mean you have to quit your job? Absolutely not. You don't have to quit your job. But you need to get some of that back into your life, or you need to give that gift away like you were when you were on fire for it. Okay, so that's your task today. And I hope this makes sense. I hope you take the time to actually do the exercise, because if you've lost that, you desperately need to get it back. This is a year when so many things are happening for women and for leaders everywhere, that if we don't reinvigorate ourselves, if we don't nourish ourselves, from sense of purpose, nobody's coming to do it because everybody's getting the oxygen mask on themselves first, right? So I would love for you to be in purpose this year, for you to feel rejuvenated and on fire to do the thing that only you are called to do. So have a great week. I wish you the best.